For the attendees to trickle in. Great picture, Casey.
Thank you. I need a new one, honestly. That's from Forbes 30 under 30. I went to like a Forbes 30 under 30. Like I didn't make the list. I just went to like a Forbes conference thing and they had this headshot thing. It was like 5 years ago.
Hey, they did their job. You look great. Let's see. I'll wait for the attendees to trickle in.
Yeah, we give it like 5 or 10 minutes.
Yep.
Cool.
Sounds good. I'm trying to see here. Let's see. Maybe you should move this up a little bit.
I don't know if everyone can hear us right now. I think they can. Anybody in the room watching us just sit here with each other. We're going to get started in like 5 minutes or so.
A couple of minutes, yes.
Chat is disabled, so let me fix that. Okay, now people should be able to chat.
I see Carissa has joined. We got a lot of good questions.
I know. I'm very excited. I've never done an AMA myself. Are you familiar with AMAs? I wasn't sure when we threw that idea out there if people were going to know like what an Ask Me Anything was.
Hey, Reddit has been around for a minute now.
There you go.
I think we all know AMAs.
I love them. That was like my first thing got me like obsessed with Reddit. It was just like reading. It was like, it'd be like the most random people.
That is my favorite subreddit, the Ask Reddit one.
That's a good one too. You just get to see what random people say to the craziest questions.
Yeah. The AMAs, like, I think they hit their zenith sometime in the past like 3-4 years.
They became well, I mean, this might be pot calling the kettle black here, but they became like a marketing tool. I felt like a developer 100%. Would drop, like a company would drop like a new feature and they'd be like, we're the people who developed this new feature. Ask us anything.
I think the highlight was when Obama did an AMA. I remember a couple of times. That was pretty cool. Arnold Schwarzenegger had one that was really funny.
Yeah, I used to always go to like sports guys that I liked. Like if I ever saw like a sports player, it was rare. But if you ever see like an athlete, like, oh, what do they answer to all these questions?
Right. I think both Peyton and Eli Manning had a couple. I'm trying to remember if any of the NBA stars had. I can't remember. But yeah.
Who knows? Maybe after this, you and I will be the Peyton and Eli Manning of retail SMS AMAs.
Hey, that's the plan. Well, which one? Who's which? Which is which?
I'm a Giants fan, so I would want to be Eli if you're okay with taking the Peyton crown.
I guess. Yeah.
Oh, you wanted to be Eli too.
Yeah, Eli is just so much funnier.
He really is. I love Eli.
Yes. Oh, we see someone else has joined. TT Love. And Ali Hernandez. All right, we'll give it a couple of minutes, guys, before we begin. And in the meantime, if any questions come up to you, please feel free to drop them into the chat. Yeah, I think we have a Q&A function for sure. Yes.
Yes, feel free to drop any in the chat. If you put any, when you guys registered for this, if you put any questions in, they will be in our slideshow here today. So, but if you have any other ones that come up as we're going through, drop them in.
Just chiming in, the chat or the Q&A box works. I will be here to interrupt these guys when there are questions. So feel free to do that throughout the whole webinar. And I'd say we could probably start in like 30 seconds, maybe. Kick it off.
Works for me.
Yes.
Yes, we're at the 5 minute. I think now's a good time to start. All right. Well, I think we should kick this off probably with a little bit of an intro, but as promised, we really don't want to pitch these platforms to you guys here. I think my big thing with the AMA was, let's just answer questions about retail SMS going into the holidays. And, you know, a lot of it with the questions you guys submitted is going to be surrounding Endear and Attentive specifically. But if anybody's listening, watching this who doesn't use Endear or Attentive, I think a lot of the strategies could apply in worlds outside of Endear and Attentive. What I like to say is Endear and Attentive are just going to make it way easier, like 1,000 times easier for you to do it. The strategy you could still try to employ though. So I want to let you kick it off and first intro yourself and Attentive, if anybody out there doesn't know what Attentive is, and then I could dive in on our end.
Sure thing. Hey, everyone. My name is Mahdi. I'm a tech partner manager at Attentive, the #1 SMS marketing tool, and soon to be email marketing tool as well in the US. We help brands communicate directly with their customers. No go in between, just you and the customer directly. Through a variety of tools that we have and features on our platform, we enable you to really personalize and speak with the brand's voice, and also segment your audience and understand them at a level that you couldn't before. We operate here in the US, Canada, the UK, Australia, and a few other territories in EMEA. Yeah, and I'm very, very excited to be here.
Awesome. Yeah. And the Endear side of that, how we partner together is where I would say Attentive does the SMS marketing. Endear is going to be your sales SMS tool. So if you have salespeople that either most of our clients, their salespeople are working in stores, but you could have a sales team that is directly working at like an HQ. If you're trying to have that back and forth two-way SMS conversation, but you don't just want that to be contained in like your employee's personal phone or wherever that might be, Endear is the way that you do that. Less marketing, more just chat back and forth over text function. And that's really, I would say, how we work together for the most part, is that two sides of that same coin. Awesome. So I'm going to jump in. Well, I guess quickly before we dive in, we are going to try and touch on holiday themes throughout. So I know we promoted this, holidays coming up, Black Friday's coming up. So some of the questions might not be holiday focused, but Mahdi and I agreed we're going to try to push more of our Black Friday themes as we go through here and answer these questions. So anybody looking for Black Friday tips, this should be chock full of them as well. Awesome. Well, let's jump into it. I'm excited. This is my first time I've ever done a webinar in this format where we're just diving right into questions. So I'm excited to see it.
All right,
Awesome.
ready when you are. What are some challenges if you try to do clienteling and SMS marketing? Casey, do you want to take this one first?
Yeah, so I'll kick it off. I think the biggest one I always hear from people is, I don't want to text someone too much. How do I prevent myself from texting them too many times? And I think that's what like the partnership between the two of us really does, is being able and letting your retail or your sales team know what the marketing team is doing. I think it's very like rare that the sales side of things gets that window and that insight into, you know, oh, they just got a text from my marketing team today, so maybe I don't want to send them that text message also asking them to potentially buy something. So finding a way that those two worlds can work together, I think, is the biggest challenge. Having like, if you use something like Attentive and Endear and getting the two of them integrated, to be quite honest, I think is the only real answer to that problem. Because if you have those two platforms and they're not integrated with each other, it's going to be really hard to not step on each other's toes. You're almost always going to be like switching back and forth from platforms. So I think stepping on each other's toes is the big one. And then the other one I would say is like keeping the messaging different when what we're pushing as a company tends to be the same. I honestly tell my clients when I'm getting them signed up for Endear to enroll in their marketing's flows. I'm like, if you're not signed up for your team, for your brand's SMS marketing, go sign up for it. Because I think one of the best ways to use Endear is to take that marketing SMS message and go to your client book and say, hey, I don't know if you got our marketing text today, but here's some things that like I loved from our new drop. So where the marketing team might be pushing everything because they're reaching out to a list of 20,000, 30,000, you can reach out to your list of 200 and say specifically what you like about that marketing text. So using their work and their effort that the marketing team put in for you, and then just kind of recycling it and saying it in different words. I do that in my day-to-day, to be quite honest.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's fantastic advice. I would say the biggest problem here is a problem every brand sees, is that the marketing departments and the sales department sometimes speak past each other and don't speak to each other. I think Endear and Attentive solve for that problem. So you have an unprecedented chance to really have a bird's eye view onto what the customer is seeing, but also how your company's messaging to them. And then at the end of the day, you're the salesperson, you know your customers better than anybody else. And especially if you're like a founder-led company where you do sales and you do marketing and you do everything, this is a fantastic way for you to coordinate messaging to make sure that the message that you're using for sales, if somebody comes into a retail location of yours, etc., is consistent and matches the tone that your brand takes when you're Bastin Blatching or you're sending campaigns via SMS. I think that's the first thing. The second thing would be, I 100% agree with Casey. This is something that we get a lot from people who haven't used SMS before. Hey, how do I not annoy my customers? And there's very little magic to it. I think the best way is to find a cadence. You know your demographic, you understand your audience. We can help you through our platforms understand your audience better. You know when they're likely to shop, you know when they're most likely to be looking at their phones, you know when the season is in for you to be running promotions. And so you can come up with a cadence, and we can help you come up with a cadence where you're messaging them just enough that your brand is top of mind, but not too much to the point where they want to opt out. And we have also like on the Attentive side as well, and I'm sure Endear has controls for this too. We have some features that limit the amount of messaging you can send, so you're just not spamming people all throughout the week. Your messages have some differentiating element to them. They're not just getting the same marketing message over and over again. And then we have some like generative help, like AI templates. So you're not just sending the same message again and again, but you're also not spending a lot of time coming up with content. But this is really just an opportunity for you to get your marketing and sales department. And if you're the person that does both, kudos, just to speak to each other. And so the customer is getting like one unified message, and they know, hey, this is X brand that is messaging me. That totally makes sense that they're saying this. This is on par with the SMS that I received before. And at the same time, like what Casey said, you can play around with it. You know what message they've received already, and so you know how to complement that and not repeat yourself.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, this is a good question. I think
yeah,
it gets to the heart of a lot of brands' problems.
Even if they clicked on that last message. So if you imagine your marketing team could have some sort of redirect where, you know, if you click on the most recent Attentive message, then automatically a salesperson is tasked to personally reach out. So now you're like kind of stacking those on top of each other. Yeah, you actually brought up a really good point there, and I'll move to the next question of the controls that are in place against your employees, because right, we could like want them to do the right thing and teach them to do the right thing, but yeah, having some of those controls in place. And that's where I would say like, that's where using Endear and Attentive does become so important. Like the bigger you grow and the larger your organization becomes, the more people you're going to have involved in that mix that you don't talk to every day and you don't work with every day. And you need to have some of those safeguards in place for your brand.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I'll let you take this one first. What's your personal favorite way to use, I guess to you it'd be to use Attentive?
So my favorite way to use Attentive actually would be during the holiday. I know we're going to talk about this in a bit. During the holiday campaigns, every brand is doing promotions. Everybody's doing 50% off or free shipping, or, you know, if you're a really exclusive hot brand, then you're doing like limited drops or capsule collections. My favorite is just seeing how different each brand uses their offering. So we have some brands that run these links through their text messages where it redirects you to a specific product page. We have brands that run these coupon offers that are really redeemable at any point, that allow you to text back and run your shopping journey from SMS, from your SMS function or your messaging app on the phone. And that's like my favorite way, because you feel like you're actually talking to someone. It's almost as if you have your own little personal shopper that you're communicating with, even if you can't really afford a personal shopper. And that's that's an experience that all brands can give their customers. They're two-way conversational. And so I think it's a great validation for why SMS is so important, because everybody is doing it, right? Everybody's doing promotions during the holidays. You're not the only person doing sales. Everybody has blockbuster offers and new products that have never been seen before. But with SMS, you truly have the opportunity to get one-on-one with your customer and have them text you back what their order is. You have the opportunity to create a sense of urgency. I would say that's my favorite use case, is just our two-way conversational messaging during the holiday season, because you have, God knows, hundreds, if not thousands of people visiting your store at every given minute. And this is an opportunity to make them feel like they're the only person in the virtual store at the minute, right? It's not like they're queuing, what you see in the Walmarts and the Targets of the world during Black Friday or Cyber Monday, where like people are just rushing in, grabbing whatever merchandise they can. You have the opportunity to remove that negative sentiment from the experience and make the person feel like, hey, it is Black Friday, Cyber Monday. I'm sure everybody's buying these shoes or purses or whatever it is that your brand is selling, but I feel like I'm getting the VIP treatment. I'm able to text back and forth, and it's all an automated flow that you can set up within Attentive. That definitely has to be my favorite way to use Attentive.
Sure. Yeah, I love that. That is a new feature of Attentive to me anyway. I haven't seen that yet. I would say that's like huge I have so many of my brands that are like, you can't have a real human two-way conversation when you have like millions of customers. Like, to do that with everyone is crazy. And so I do have a lot of brands that are like, how can I recreate that feeling, but not have to have, an actual human for all of my people who maybe are my lower spenders or don't come shop that often, like that sort of segment of people where it's more of like cast this really wide net and hope that you get a couple bites. And then I think Endear's kind of like, you're like shooting with precision, or you're attempting to be a little bit more precise and hit those VIPs or those like super high spenders with something really intentional. I think my favorite way I see people use Endear is actually, and this is going to sound backwards maybe to a lot of people, but it's to not drive sales. And that sounds crazy, but here's the thing, is real, like retail human interactions is not constantly trying to get a sale. My favorite way people use Endear is honestly like a thank you campaign, especially during the holidays. This applies because you're going to be getting more purchases than any other time of the year. And you can set up triggered messaging in Endear. So like, as soon as someone buys, send a text message from the associate who they shopped with saying thank you 2 days after the purchase. So during the holidays, you can still get that really personal text message from the store going out to people, triggered automatically. And the fact that it doesn't ask for a purchase is what makes it work, because it is genuine. There's no, I'm expecting something back from you. You are really just saying thank you. I love seeing people then do what we call the 222 method from there. So 2 days after the purchase, you're thanking them. 2 weeks after the purchase, you're checking in again, still not asking for another purchase, but just like maybe saying, hey, your return window is up in 2 weeks. I want to make sure you're still loving what you got. Because then in 2 months, when you go back to ask for that next purchase, finally, it's so much easier, because you have a whole thread of text messages with them right there that is back and forth. Thank you. Oh, it was great shopping with you. And then you're like, hey, we got some new things in. It feels more natural.
Yeah. No, definitely. And like, especially since no one likes to feel like a plebe, I guess. We all want the first class treatment. Yep. And I know brands want to give that to their customers. And so that's the important piece, is during the rush where every brand, like, it's almost an impulse and you almost have to do it, is giving away these massive offers and is driving sales. And there are massive expectations, because it is the biggest season for brands. If you find a way, whether it's through our two-way conversational messaging or Endear's 222 method, of making your customer feel just special, like you're not part of a horde, take it for sure. Because aside from that customer being, turning into a high intent buyer and converting successfully, you'll most likely increase your customer lifetime value. They will come again, and they will buy again from you, and you will be a referred brand for them when they talk to their friends. So definitely, if you have a way to personalize to that level, definitely do it. Take it, I'd say.
Yeah, that's what it's all about.
Yes.
You want to read this one?
Ooh, yes. What is the best way to manage sending attentive and Endear messages about the same topic / promotion? I think this goes back to the first question.
Yeah, we touched on this one a little bit.
Yeah. I think it's important to be coordinated. If you are a brand that has, a separate marketing and sales department, this is the Attentive Endear integration is one of the ways you guys remain on message, because what the marketing team sends, the sales team will be able to see, and they'll be able to reference when they're speaking to their customers. And so it really depends on every brand and how you want to do it. I would recommend against the impulse of sending duplicate messages. Sometimes that is effective. And it can convert for sure, but I think long term, you want to find a way where, for instance, you send your campaigns about the promotions via SMS, and then you use your Endear sales associates to actually convert the customer, right? Or vice versa, for instance, you have using the 2-2 method with Endear, right? You're giving them education on the product, you're enabling them on like learning, hey, this is what the brand is, this is what we offer, this is how our products are cooler than the competitors. And then you can try and close the sale via Attentive, right? By sending them very targeted messages, by building segments for people who have been contacted by one of our sales associates or have been contacted by our sales team, and then targeting that segment with specialized messaging for them. I think that kind of coordination works best. I would fight the urge to just duplicate messages and send them. It's easy, and I'm not saying it won't convert for you. It will. You will get a few shoppers, but you're leaving a lot of money on the table, in my opinion.
Yeah, I would not just fight the urge. In my mind, I would say it's like a no. Like you should never do that, because think about like the way your SMS inbox would look. You would have one right after the other of the exact same message. It would just look very unprofessional. I think I have two things here. One, you mentioned already, reference the marketing message. I think if you tell them, hey, this message is about to be pretty similar to the one you already got and just read from us, it immediately like brings down the barrier of like you doing it on accident. So like if you reference that and you're like, I know you just got our marketing message. This is why I'm actually reaching out again, is to add this little extra piece of info. You're like, this isn't a mistake. I did this on purpose. And then the second thing I would say, I have one thing that like, because people do ask me pretty often, when do I think about, should I send this through Endear? Should I send this through Attentive? My one trick is usually, and with this reply bot, maybe it doesn't work anymore, but I've always said, if you want a reply, like if your goal from the message is to get the customer to reply to it and start a conversation, send it through Endear. If your goal from the message is to get a sale, like the way you are judging the message is how many sales do I get off of it, that maybe is Attentive. And I think that's like the biggest, because honestly, like we will show you in Endear sales you drive off of your text messages. I recommend not using that as your incentive, because it does create this backwards incentive of, well, I should just send more text messages. In fact, I think in Endear, you should look at reply rate. Your reply rate is your indicator of a successful message in Endear, in my personal opinion.
Yeah. And just to add on to that, you can, I say the important thing is just understanding who your audience are. I mean, as a brand, you know best who your audience is. And so the volume of messages does depend on that. It is good to maintain consistent communication with the customers, I will say. But how often you send them and how often you message them, again, depends totally, to Casey's point, how you coordinate those messages, what kind of things your sales associate are saying to them, what kind of content is in your marketing message, and what kind
you
of
sell.
Like additional, what you sell, like what incremental value you're adding to with each extra message. There's definitely a way to be thoughtful about it. But great question.
Oh, I love this one. Can I tackle this one first? I mean, I kind of just did. So what kind of metrics should I be tracking? I think, so one, if you don't know this, you can't track opens with text messages. So if anybody tells you that, they are kind of lying. I mean, there may be certain things you can do to track an open, but in reality, opens aren't really a good measure to look at when it comes to a text message. So then you have clicks, you have replies to the message, and then you have conversions. So those are the three main things we look at. Clicks, we really don't look at clicks that much, because a lot of times I recommend that, just like I say, an Endear message should get a reply. At the same sense, it like almost shouldn't necessarily get a click. Like you shouldn't be just putting a CTA in your Endear text just because like, well, good marketing practices would tell me like, I got to have a CTA here and have something for them to click on. Because again, your Endear message isn't supposed to be best practices. It's supposed to be, it's my associate from the store who I love. That's like the idea. So the clicks isn't always the best thing. I'm going to come back to it again. I say it all the time, reply rate. I think in the Endear world, it's all about reply rate. It's all about how many times can you get your customer to start and be a part of a genuine back and forth conversation with someone at your brand. Because that is when you build loyalty. That is when like that person now, just like you were saying earlier, they feel like a VIP. They're going to not just shop with your brand again, but they're going to go tell all your friends about your brand and about that store, because Mahdi from like that store texts me and lets me know when new stuff comes in before anybody else knows about it. So like if you can build up that kind of relationship, I think and reply rate is what tracks that really. So that's the one we look at.
Nice. I kind of agree and a little bit disagree.
Okay.
I think reply rate is a fantastic metric actually for conversion and for higher intent buyers, because those will most likely almost completely convert because they replied. They care enough about the product that they actually took the action of typing. I agree with Casey. Open rates are not a super good metric when it comes to SMS because we have a 99% open rate. Almost everybody reads SMS messages that get to their phone. I would say that click-through rates can be a good indicator of whether the content of your messaging is successful with your audience. So I do agree with Casey that yes, click-through rates alone don't tell the whole story, but I will say sometimes they are an important metric of how successful you are in your marketing messaging, right? And so, yeah, I'm sorry, Casey.
That was specifically, I was saying for Endear messages. I think Attentive, you're totally right. Attentive, you like, you're trying to get that person to land on your website from the text. So like that is, I would say, the goal. I agree with you on the Attentive side or marketing side.
But even for the Endear messages, if they click through, that means there's something there that worked, right? And it could be just you need to tweak the messaging. Associate may need to take another stab at it from another angle. I do agree with you 100%. It doesn't tell the whole story. Don't just look at click-through rates and wonder, why are my conversions not matching up? That means your message is compelling, right? Then there might be some other things on the site that you might need to optimize, some stuff on the product end of it. I would say the conversion rates are the biggest thing that we look through, like how long after they click through a message on Attentive, did they purchase? Did they make a purchase? And did they make a repeat purchase? That is very, very, very important for us. And we track that metric by message type. So if I send a browse or a browse abandonment or a cart abandonment message, how many clicked through and how many actually went through and finished the checkout process that they abandoned? If I send a transactional message, right, like your order is shipped, how many of them clicked through and actually engaged with the upsell that I have on that landing page that they went for, right? So if they're waiting for a chair to arrive and you have something on your landing page that says, well, you can also buy this cushion, how many of them bought from there? And this is really, really important for you to be able to tweak the kind of messaging that you're sending out. And it's more powerful than any content brainstorm that you may come up with in your marketing room, because this is directly validated by the customers. I'd say that's one. The second metric, and I kind of touched on this, it needs to be the customer lifetime value. This is differently calculated. This is calculated in different ways by brand, right? So you want to see, hey, how many of these customers are coming back? How many of them are one and done buyers? In limited cases, this might depend on, like, if you sell mattresses, they're just going to be one and done buyers. That is the nature of the product. But if you're a brand, right, especially if you're like in retail, you want to be able to in some way measure, hey, how many of those customers am I retaining and for how long? And at what point did I lose engagement with them? And that will help you with engaging in some win-back journeys, stuff that we do at Attentive. Back in stock alerts, are they going to work? thinking of different ways to just to bring those back into the fold, because those are actually the highest intent buyers, the people who bought before, because they bought from your brand, they've experienced your brand, they've tried your product, they already know how to navigate around the website, right? They're already opted into your SMS program, they've already received some Endear messages from you. And I think that is one metric that brands don't look at, because we're always focused on acquisition and our CAC, how much is our customer acquisition cost, but really the true money for you and what's going to sustain you through holidays and through the slower seasons of the year, right, where maybe you're not doing as much sales, is those return buyers. So if you have a way, find a way to measure CLV. It's different for every brand, but I think that's important for you to just optimize also on your overall marketing strategy. Hey, yeah, we've got the customer, they've bought once, what do we do now? You need to have an answer to that question for sure. So that's the metric you should be tracking. If your CLV is low and you're churning customers continuously, then that might be the reason your sales are not as high as what you want them to be. And that's a massive, massive room.
I think I'm glad you brought that one up, because I think that is like where that's the number one thing I think Endear does, right? Where Endear is almost never going to be an acquisition tool. Like, we are the long tail. We're going to get that customer to order more often and to spend more when they do, would be the goal. Yeah. So I definitely agree with you there. I think that's the future of retail. I think if you are a retail brand who may be sitting there listening to this right now and thinking like, my customers aren't coming back and shopping as often, my sales are going down, like what is going on right now? I know there's like chaos going on in some retail brands. The answer is retention and lifetime value, and like steer your focus away from acquisition. I think the reason people like have looked at acquisition is because it's easier to track, right? I think it's much easier to track getting a new customer. It's very simple. We got a new customer. Tracking how many times that customer comes back and buys is where you start to it gets a little bit more complicated. And so I think people have just always leaned away from that just because of how complicated it is. But now brands are like, well, all our VC money is gone. We need to start being profitable. And so that means we need CLV.
And that's exactly it. It's the true measure of your brand's longevity, how long you can keep your customers, for sure.
Yep. Yeah. Are there any emerging trends or best practices that retailers should be aware of? I feel like you're going to be more up on trends and best practices than me, so I'm going to let you start.
Yes, for sure. And I'm assuming here retailers is like in-person stores or just retailers in general, e-com?
When I see the word retailer, I think any brand. So e-com, any brand. Yeah, all of it.
Yeah. So there are a couple of trends that we've seen. One, it has been happening for quite a while now. So due to the technological updates that Apple has rolled out and the turf wars between the big ad providers, right? So Google's is AdSense, Facebook ads, etc. There's been an increased focus amongst brands, and we've seen this movement first amongst the enterprise brands, to make sure that they're getting first-party and zero-party data. This is something that is very, 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 very important. Tools like SMS, tools like Endear, any first-party or zero-party data that you can get your hand on at any point of contact is important, because you need to be able to understand your audience to target them better, one, but then also to differentiate yourself from the competition. We're seeing increased competition for the inbox. There are a lot of brands that sell similar products. You want to make sure that your brand voice shines through. And the first and foremost step, before you get to any of like the fancy marketing stuff, before you get on like what tools should I buy, is going to be understanding your audience. So make sure that your tech stack has like a good way to track who your customer base is, a way to build customer profiles. Even if you don't run a subscriber program, if you're just like, a normal Shopify shop, let's say, make sure you have a way to retain, understand, and really just a way to view a dashboard of like your zero and first party data. So like those are customers' names, their emails, their phone addresses, right, where they came to you on the site from. That is going to be very, very, very important, just because ad spend is going up and the returns are decreasing because of increased competition, regulation, and other things. So that's one, I would say. Second trend we've seen is AI. Everybody is talking about AI. I would say the best thing to think of when you're a small brand, and if you're thinking about AI, or even if you're a big brand, think about how can it make my life easier, not I should do it because everyone else is doing it. So for instance, when we rolled out AI for Attentive and we were working on this machine learning program for a while, we were like, all right, what is the thing that most people spend time on in the UI? What is the most chore, exhaustive process that we could really take off of our customers' hands and make it so much easier for them? And that was content, just coming up with what to say in the messages. We found that even when we provide templates, it's still involved, right? Because you have to go in and edit. So we rolled out our Magic Composer, which is a generative AI tool. And so this is the way I want you to think about it in the future. When you're evaluating tech stacks and there's going to be a billion platforms that have the name AI appended to, is this going to make my day-to-day easier, right? Because some AI tools are cool and they add something new, but that's also extra work for you. And I think, and I may be wrong about this, one of the many great things about AI is that it's supposed to make work more efficient. And so that's one of the emerging trends that we've seen is just using AI to reduce the time you're spending in like content creation or marketing efforts or spinning up all that stuff. Because that less time you spend marketing, that's more time you can actually spend on selling your product, and more time you can spend on optimizing other operational sides of your business. I'd say the third thing is incentives. Be just creative about your incentives. Everybody has 10 and 15% off. You could be a little bit more involved, like try quizzes, for instance, right? And this is a great way to collect first and zero party data. You can try surveys, right? Dabble in a couple of things, like your opt-in units could be different. It could be spin to win, right? So it's not just always the same incentive to bring customers in, and that will really help
you guys. That's who I see on everybody's website when they ask me to spin to win.
So the SMS portion is us, right?
Okay.
But we integrate with a number of technology providers that do that help people spin to win. And it's not just, it doesn't just create a gamification feel for it. There is a benefit. Obviously, people are going to spend more time on your website because it's just an addictive impulse that it plays on. But then also it makes your brand stand out. You're not just offering the same 5, 10, 15% on Black Friday, Cyber Monday, or on any other day of the week that everybody else was performing. And our eyes tend to glaze over messages that we've seen before. So this helps really keep people on your website for longer, obviously, which increases their conversion rate. And I'd say like the last thing is be creative about how you use your existing marketing channels. I mean, we've seen some of our brands use paid media to promote their SMS. We've seen them use QR codes, TV ads, email and loyalty programs just to capture subscribers that way. Because once you have somebody's phone number, and this is true for SMS marketing or in real life, you have the ability to reach them directly, right? And that is something no marketing channel actually gives you, and which is why SMS is partly a heavily regulated space, and why we put so much thought and effort into what kind of messages and how we communicate with our customers. And so be creative about how you capture those customers, right? Don't think of, hey, I'm just going to put an opt-in on my website, and then I'm going to just do that opt-in on on different pages, or like a transactional opt-in, and that'll be it. Be creative about it. We have a Instagram opt-in, for instance, where you can embed the subscriber opt-in onto your Instagram stories. For brands that run on Instagram, this is a great way to capture subscribers because they're on social media a lot of times. We're working on one with TikTok. Capture them on TV ads if you run TV ads, on billboards if you have a retail, physical brick and mortar location. You can have text to join. There's so many ways you can capture subscribers that way, SMS subscribers. And then once you capture them, they are yours to convert. So I'd say these are the trends and the best practices that we're seeing retailers be aware of. Don't buy any technology that has AI in it unless it makes your job easier. Sorry, Casey. Make sure that you are collecting subscribers everywhere, not just through your website. And then also make sure that you understand your audience. Zero and first party data are very, very important. That way, if Facebook is ever down, it's not catastrophe for your brand.
Yeah. So I'm going to comment on, because I love the ones you gave. So I'm just going to piggyback on those. So the capturing more subscribers thing, I want to specifically call out one way, because this is Attentive plus Endear partnership webinar. I have seen, so one of the biggest things that brands struggle with is I can't get my employees in store to capture phone numbers. Because it's like you're asking kind of a lot of your associate to ask the person. I bet your best associates at your store are probably like, can I grab your phone number? And then if the customer says no, they're not even attempting to push back at all or anything. But the reason I found is because that phone number does nothing for them. They get
Yes.
nothing out of capturing. When you give them Endear and you say, hey, capture this person's phone number so that way you can also go text them and you can also go get credit for driving sales to them. Now, all of a sudden, I've incentivized my associate to get phone numbers for both me and my marketing team. And then the beauty of it is you create this also like middle world where, because of Endear, you can capture a phone number and not need them to opt in to marketing right away. So you can like warm them up with your Endear associate and then have them opt into your marketing at a later date, but you're still getting that phone number. Because just like you said, getting that phone number, so important.
Yes.
The first party data piece, honestly, that's like you give someone, again, it comes back to like your associate at the store. So many brands I work with really, like, disrespect isn't the right word. Undervalue wouldn't be the right word. They don't understand how smart and intelligent their store teams are. And so they like really downplay what their store teams can do and will do. But as soon as they put the technology in their hands, like Endear, all of a sudden their store teams are entering notes on customers and adding little like characteristics that you could never know through just what they've purchased. But now you have all this first party data that you're getting from your store teams through those store interactions that are going right into your whole system because you're putting it into Endear. And then the last one would be the one thing I've seen, the biggest trend I've seen this year with SMS has been the regulatory side of things. And so like, if there is no other reason to use Attentive and Endear, it is to make sure that you are doing things the way that you legally have to be. And I know Attentive is so serious about that. I know we take that like very seriously. So I would go as far to say, if you use the two of our platforms, you will be doing things the way you should be, because our platforms are built to make sure that you are staying within like what you're allowed to be doing.
Awesome.
And I know, I think we wanted
kind
to
of answered this.
Yeah. And we wanted to save 15 minutes in case there's any questions from the audience. So we have 4 minutes of pre-submitted questions left here. What are the biggest things brands do wrong? Yes, we kind of did answer this. Let me see if there's anything I have to add on.
Yeah, don't just look at one metric and use that as your source of truth.
Yeah.
Make sure you have a holistic view of things. I think that covered.
I've got a good one. Set incentives in the right way.
Yes.
I think like we said, when we were talking about the metrics, like those metrics matter. And the ones we mentioned are the right ones to focus on, because if you just say sales or you just say clicks, there's a whole lot of things I can do that aren't necessarily the right thing that will get you more sales and will get you more clicks. But like you want to see click-through rate to a sale within X days. And you want to see lifetime, because that's what's going to get you all your people moving in the right direction.
Yeah.
We definitely went over this one already. Yeah,
for sure. That's been a recurring theme.
Attentive. Yep, that's the theme of the. This is good though. I'm glad, because we covered a lot of these.
The answer, Can I use the same phone number in Attentive and Endear? The answer for this would be yes. You can. We provide contact cards for all brands so that customers can save their brand with their brand's logo and their name. And so it's not just some random number messaging them. And then that way they will know that, hey, whether it's marketing messages or Endear associate messages, I know that this is X brand that is messaging me. So yes, the answer to this is yes.
Okay, cool. Yeah. I've actually never thought about it in that way, because it is technically a different phone number, but if you put them in that same contact card, that's actually a really smart way to do it. I'm going to start recommending that. Yeah. So, I mean, just to comment on this quickly, is each Endear store or even the actual individual user. So it's usually more of like a high end, like really luxury brand. They're like, I want every single one of my sales associates to have their own phone number. So that is kind of, I would say, one big difference between Attentive and Endear is like, because it's two-way messaging, you can set up a phone number per person, phone number per store, one phone number for the whole brand, whatever you really want to do there.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. We just literally commented on this one. Do you want to get more specific?
Sure, I can give a few examples. This is something, as Casey intimated, we take extremely seriously. The fact of the matter is, we live in a litigious country. Text is a litigious space. And so there are a couple of things that we do in terms of compliance controls. We have something called, first of all, we have like a team of in-house counsel. So we make sure that every opt-in unit is approved by our lawyers before they're sent out. We have industry professionals who are working a MOPS team, an entire MOPS team, messaging operations team that works directly with the carriers. Those are the AT&Ts, T-Mobiles, Verizons of the world, because they actually self-regulate in a lot of ways. And they have their own additional rules that you have to abide by.
That was, sorry to cut you off. That was the craziest part when I first got into this industry to like start learning about, is that all of them have their own rules. I was like, you guys didn't come together and just pick a one rule set for us to work by. That's the craziest part to me.
Yes. And it's very important to abide by these rules, because the carriers can and will throttle your send if you violate any of them. So that's on the first part. Second, we have in-platform features that are designed to protect you and designed to put you on the best foot forward when it comes to compliance. So for instance, you will not be able to publish a creative if it is not ADA and DCPA compliant, meaning if it does not comply with the American Disabilities Act, the font sizes are too small or the color contrast is wrong. The UI itself, the Attentive platform, will not allow you to publish that creative. And again, we have all our lawyers review those creatives. We hard code some of the things, some of the legal language. This is done for the brand zone protection. We have something called Litigator Defender that we use, and I think it's an incredibly useful tool. So we scan all lawsuits that are involved with an SMS, and if any of your subscribers is named in any of these lawsuits, they're automatically opted out of your program. This is done for the brand zone safety. And so this is a great way to catch a lot of bad actors in the space who, just wait to get a wrong message, just because the fees can be very expensive. The lawsuit fees, just the legal fees in general, can be expensive, but then also the fines levied by the FCC can be hefty. I think it's $1,500, up to $1,500 per text message. We also have something called an SMS audit trail. So we give this based on like the brand's request, upon the brand's request. And this tracks every subscriber from the moment they entered into your program. And so if somebody comes up to you, again, a bad actor, or just somebody who's confused and says, hey, I never signed up to get text messages from you, you can come to Attentive and we'll provide you with an audit trail, and you can go back to them and be like, hey, you did subscribe to us on this day at this hour from this location using this cell carrier and this cell phone type. And this is, again, done for the brand zone protection. This is just a quick snapshot of all the compliance controls we take. At the end of the day, it is up to the brand to make sure that they're on the right legal footing. But we prevent a lot of like the easy mistakes to make. We also make sure that you're not annoying people and messaging them in the wrong times. We have something called audience controls. So define quiet hours, for instance, from 9 p.m. to 9 a.m. the next day. So you're not messaging people at midnight. Time zone based targeting. So if you're messaging people at 8 p.m. in California, you're not waking up people on the West Coast, and things like that. And this is, again, all done to keep you on the right side of things, to make sure that your messages arrive to the intended audience, so that the carriers don't levy any fines on you, and just to make sure that you don't fall afoul of any of the myriad of federal laws and regulations and state laws and regulations, etc. But yeah, that's a quick overview of how we make sure you're legally texting people. And the number one rule is, of course, you can't text someone unless they give you their phone number. So you can't just bring in a list and upload it unless you know that each and every one of these people opted in compliantly. And this starts with our opt-in. That's kind of a double compliant check. It's patented because we have this technology that allows you to deep link to somebody's messaging app and allow them to send a confirmation message saying, yes, I do want to receive text messages from you. And this is another way to ensure that you're opting in high intent buyers, because if somebody goes through the flow and they're warned, hey, you're going to get marketing messages. Hey, you're going to get marketing messages. And they still sign up, that means they really want to buy from your brand. But yeah, I know that was a lot, but we take this very, very, very seriously.
Yeah, I'm going to let you carry the weight on that one. What I will say is the majority of messages going through Endear are one-to-one today. So it tends to be something that like doesn't really come up often with us because we're sending so many fewer messages than you would be sending through Attentive. That said, whenever you do things that are in bulk in Endear, what we do is we'll lean on our relationship with Attentive, or if you have like some other warehouse that you're keeping your subscription data in, then we'll lean on that and we can pull in. So for example, every customer today that uses Attentive and Endear can filter their Endear customer list by subscribe to Attentive is yes. And that's updated in real time through our integration. So I do believe should we see if there's any questions from the group? I don't know that I've seen any come in the chat.
No, I think
let's
we haven't had anything in the chat, so
awesome.
forget to proceed.
Do we want to answer this one quick and then call it a day, or?
Yeah, I think there's a question right after it on Black Friday, Cyber Monday. You give quick tips and tricks for people, or I think it could be a few down. Let's see.
We kind of did a lot of these.
Yeah. Let's see. I think my order of slides is a little different than yours.
Here we go. This is about Black Friday, Cyber Monday. Yeah, let's run through this.
Yeah, this is good. So you can do a couple of things. So you can drive SMS signups online and offline if your brand has both a physical and e-commerce presence. So you can convert high intent browsers and subscribers by adding sign up units just to your digital marketing channels. So what I mentioned earlier, your website, your email loyalty programs, social media, etc. Those TV ads, and you can also add incentives to each opt-in. I would also recommend growing.
You guys do like QR codes?
Yes. QR codes, text to join, the whole gamut. I'd also recommend growing your email and SMS list together. So you can use your email list as a springboard to grow your SMS list. SMS is a bit more of an engaged channel, but email marketing is still very, very powerful. That's another way. And then you can drive signups in store using catchy text to join messaging. We've seen people draw subscribers with catchy incentives. You can promote the SMS programs even from inside the dressing rooms. And then you can create special experiences. So if you come into the store and sign up to our SMS subscriber program, you get this incentive or X amount off of your purchase, but just for in-store buyers. And then you can incentivize checkout collection by providing a dollar amount or a percentage amount of incentive. So if somebody's about to check out and they're paying at the cashier, you can be like, hey, if you sign up to SMS program right now, you'll get like 10, 15% off. And then that's an additional touch point you have for them, because at that point you have their email, you have their SMS, you can market to them so that they can purchase again for Black Friday, Cyber Monday. But yeah, in general, I'd say for like Black Friday, Cyber Monday, try to recommend new favorites, right? All the usual stuff, encourage repeat visits, right? So 12, like we've seen some brands do 12 deals, 12 days of deal campaigns, create a sense of urgency. Yeah, like try to create a sense of urgency, right? Build excitement around like exclusive drops, or say this offer ends at X amount of time, right? Or like at the end of the month, etc. And share time-sensitive updates, like 3 more days before the offer ends. Oh my God, you have 1 more day before the offer ends, get it. And you can increase the incentive with each message. And then you can also bring your high intent buyers back to the website. So your browse abandonment messages, your cart abandonment, right? And you can suppress browse and cart abandonment reminders for out of stock items, right? So they're not just coming back to the website and getting disappointed. Low inventory announcements, right? Like, hey, this bag is running out. Like, it gives a sense that this is a popular bag. It also creates a sense of urgency. Price drop notifications and back in stock notifications. These are all things that can drive those people willing to purchase and ready to purchase back to your website really quickly. And then you can mix that up with your physical retail presence as well. So, hey, we have a low inventory on this item, but you can only get it if you come in person to the store. And once they're in the store, they're yours to sell to. So yeah.
There's a fun one that I've seen a couple of my brands take advantage of recently that I love. Now, keep in mind, like I said, Endear usually working with like a higher price contemporary luxury brand. So there's this flow of like, it's an appointment, right? And it's called a build a lookbook for your husband appointment. And it's essentially to drive appointments during this time of the year that you then build a lookbook from, and you capture their husband or significant other's contact info during that appointment, and you send them the lookbook. So like he has a good idea of what his wife wants for Christmas is the idea. Yes. And like that is just like such a fun one to me, and it like accomplishes a bunch of things. Like you get another potential person that you can now text about promotions that, like maybe he's not buying for himself, but there's someone in his household that likes these things.
Yeah, it's like a secret gift registry. I love
yes,
it.
exactly. Yeah, like it's the wife herself being like, "Here's what I want. Can you send it to him?"
Yes.
Yeah, it's fantastic. There's another one that you made me think of there that I thought was so I can't remember
Was
it
it the
now.
12 days of deals?
So I love that one. Oh, I remember what I was going to say. The big one I think is like uh price drop guarantees I've seen.
Oh,
So because a
yes.
lot of brands will like the closer you get to Black Friday, they just keep, or the closer you even get to Christmas, they just keep making things cheaper and cheaper because they just need to push that inventory.
Yeah.
If you want someone to buy today, telling them if this becomes cheaper from now until Christmas, like we'll give you a rebate basically. Like you have this sort of like price drop protection on buying that product can like get someone to not hold out until the last possible deal. And I think if I was a brand, the number one thing I try to do during Black Friday, Cyber Monday is get as many orders now. Get as many orders now between now and Black Friday. Don't wait. Like start running your promotions now. It's zero reason in my mind to wait unless you're like trying to have this big, but by you waiting, you're also making your customers wait. So, and like time kills all deals. That's what we say in this world of sales. I don't know if they say that in retail sales.
Yeah, no, for sure. Don't wait. Start running your promotions now. That way, your biggest headache coming to Black Friday, Cyber Monday is fulfillment. And it's not actually selling to customers because by that point, you have not just one, not two, but like 100,000 different competitors vying for the same customers. But yeah, thank
This
you,
was
everyone.
awesome.
Yeah,
This
this
was
was
so much
awesome.
fun.
Absolutely. And for people who sign up for a demo with Attentive before September 30th or by October 1st, you get a free trial for us, all paid. You send all the messages you want for free on Attentive. So yeah.
Yes, we have a Black Friday, Cyber Monday promotion as well. My marketing team's going to be so mad at me. It's escaping me. Madeline, I bet you knows it. Can you jump in, please, moderator?
Yes. If you sign up for Endear or sign up for a demo by November 1st, we have a package with unlimited pre-built integrations, complimentary data cleanup, dedicated retail sales and consultant, and preloaded campaign templates, plus 20% off your subscription. So,
oh, wow.
That in the chat, and this will all be in a follow-up email.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Mahdi.
Thanks, everyone.
We'll
Thank
chat
you,
soon.
Casey.
Have a good one.
Chat soon.
Bye.
Bye.